real question is, why not? Why not? And why are you equating Black history, American history with DEI? This is, as you rightly mentioned, important American history.
The president did not sign a proclamation this year observing the holiday. Instead, he took to social media posting, "Too many non-working holidays in America. It's costing our country billions of dollars."
Now just a few days removed from Juneteenth, I feel the need to do a segment utilizing a CNN panel to discuss the almost vitriolic, racist reactions to it as a holiday in and of itself that came from even Trump himself, but top down all of MAGA, and how this is just a symptom of the ideology of Trump himself and his rise to prominence. So leave us a like on the video. It lets us know you're enjoying the content. It gives us a huge boost in the algorithm. We really appreciate it, and it's free. And let's hop into the discussion.
Americans did just come together to celebrate Juneteenth, okay? Federal holiday, marks the end of slavery. Some cities scaled back, frankly, canceled celebrations this year with an eye on the Trump administration's DEI rollbacks. And notably, of course, the president did not sign a proclamation this year observing the holiday. Instead, he took to social media posting, "Too many non-working holidays in America. It's costing our country billions of dollars to keep all of these businesses closed."
Has the White House had their Juneteenth celebration? Did it happen? Is it going to happen?
We have 11 federal holidays. And by the way, the workers are fine. They're getting paid time and a half. You don't want the holiday. This holiday specifically.
We have way too many holidays. We got President's Day, that can go, but maybe that's what he's talking about. Let's just see.
And to just cut to the chase, we all know Trump would never post something like this on Easter, and we know exactly why he posted it on Juneteenth. We don't have to beat around the bush or pretend, but in seeing all these different posts from MAGA about it, Trump included, I was genuinely appalled and disgusted at what it shows about the state of America, where never again, I think, should we say racism doesn't exist. I hope this could never come back to the mainstream, because it's obvious Juneteenth is a federal holiday to recognize the day that America ended slavery, ending one of the darkest times in American history and making one of the greatest days in American history simultaneously. There's quite literally no reason you would want this not to be celebrated as a nation outside of racism. Like, what is the reason to not have Juneteenth as a holiday? Oh, it's divisive. To what? Celebrate that we ended slavery? They literally just don't want Black people to have ethnic holidays. And while Trump refuses to sign a proclamation recognizing it this year, and his DEI orders left the celebrations minimized across the country, MAGA has also taken to social media to tell us Black folk why we're not deserving of a federal holiday. But of course, religious fairy tales are.
The real question is, why not? Why not? And why are you equating Black history, American history with DEI? Why are those two things being conflated? And that is a very important question, because everything is getting sucked into this moniker that the Trump administration wants to kind of, push on us. And this is, as you rightly mentioned, important American history.
But Lulu, you mentioned earlier the idea that when we were talking about the Dodgers, of the corporations and public institutions that felt like, oh no, maybe there was too much. Maybe things pushed into...
Oh, so Juneteenth is too much, as opposed to never having marked the formal end of slavery in this country? That is somehow
Yeah, because I'm trying to make sense of the cities that are pulling back.
I think Lulu made a good point.
It's because it was never actually about DEI or it going too far or anything like that. It was about racism. Unmitigated racism. Thinly veiled racism. No one who is anti-DEI can even tell you anything about it except maybe what the acronym stands for. Most of them can't even tell you that. They can't tell you when it was started, how it's implemented, literally nothing about it, and that alone gives the game away as to what it is. Half of them think DEI is affirmative action. It literally is just the most recent way that white people can continue racistly questioning if Black people are truly deserving of equality. As, think of it like a race, right? They all got to run the track free of obstacles, placing hurdles behind them for the brown folk to have to jump over, only for them to then pretend it's the exact brown folk who had handouts once they catch up to them in the race. All of these anti-DEI people are either racist or ignorant, or I guess you could throw brainwashed in there. There's literally no other explanation. And that's why Black culture and Black history gets intertwined and now attacked with it. It's because it was always the point from the people who did this. And again, if they can't tell you anything about it, it kind of gives that game away. It's essentially cultural genocide, which is happening to brown people all around the world, by the way. Maybe we should pick up on the patterns.
There's clearly has to be a moment at some point where we recognize our history. And I think, a day like Juneteenth, like yesterday, it is a moment to learn about it. And I think actually CNN did a great story. I think it was Victor Blackwell did a great story about, connecting these families or ties together. And I learned something.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. So that's like a day like that is a good time to learn.
Yeah, but it's certainly a culmination of politics that we have heard for the last 2 years going into the election about diversity, equity, inclusion, as you said.
But this is the thing that worries me, is that, we are losing so much of what makes America, America, with the fear of speaking out, with the fear that you're going to be punished, because these companies or these cities or these states are not taking these actions because they might want to.
It's because to them, DEI just means the N-word. That is why MAGA attaches it to every black person they don't like. That's why they called the Baltimore mayor a DEI mayor. That's why they called Kamala Harris a DEI hire, despite both of them being democratically elected politicians. It's literally just racism. But also, we have to take a step back here, because this is where I just wish that more people could critically think, because the ability to assess the greater image and landscape of what's happening rather than each individual action is just as important. These people defended Confederate statues. They fly Confederate flags to this day. They defend people who use the N-word. They donated, $1 million to that lady who called a black child the N-word. They defend the murder of George Floyd. They, to this day, call him a drug addict criminal. They want it taught in schools that slavery benefited black people, or not to be taught at all. They want DEI and affirmative action ended without even knowing what it is. Those people like Charlie Kirk call the Civil Rights Act terrible legislation. I mean, the list goes on of racist actions. Trump find people on both sides talking about a rally put together by a white nationalist. And rather than focus on that, they're all like, oh, well, he condemned the neo-Nazis. Well, why didn't he condemn the rally itself? The list literally goes on. And you have to understand this. And I think the easiest way to do this is like an analogy. And I can use a quarter. If you flip a quarter 50 times, the odds of you getting 50 times is impossible. It is a statistical impossibility. Thus, it happening would be strong evidence that that quarter is fixed. There is something wrong with that quarter to cause it to happen. The odds of a non-racist person engaging in 50 acts of racism is a statistical improbability. Sure, anyone could be out of context. Anyone could elicit maybe subconscious bias that they weren't aware of. Maybe they walked the line one time. Maybe they're doing a joke. Whatever. But this many acts of just unmitigated racism are strong evidence of racism being the motivating factor. I'm sorry to tell you.